Hey, gang, and welcome to yet another Landis Confidential. Tonight, I will be talking about Amazon women on the moon and coming to America. Um, I have cut this down from 3 movies to 2 movies just to give myself a little bit more flexibility in doing these and not to feel rushed and feel like I'm trying to cram 3 movies into an evening before I do this show at 8 Eastern time. So, um, I was going to cover Amazon Women on the Moon last week. Did not get to, but happily I was able to finish it up or watch it today, as well as refreshing myself on Coming to America, which I hadn't seen in a while. Um, Again, if there are those of you that are watching this or that don't get to watch it live and you watch it on the replay, if you guys and gals have suggestions for, if you think a later time, hey, Blissful, if you think a later time would work better for you or work better for others to be able to watch this live, I want as many people to be able to enjoy this as possible. I would be willing to make these a little bit later. Um, right now, I'm doing them at 8 o'clock, but if the majority of people come to me or put in the chat or make comments that say they would more be able to do these things if they were later or participate in them, participate in the chat or whatever, I would be glad to hear y'all's thoughts because I'm totally flexible on times. Hey, Phil. So I got 4 people in here. I'm going to get a few housekeeping things out of the way, and then we're going to get started with these movies. And of course, as always, I'm going to give my rating on both of the films. Um, I did make it back safe and sound, all in one piece from Horror Hound Weekend, September 2024. I only went on Saturday. My plans were to film going to Horror Hound, coming back from Horror Hound, and filming inside of Horror Hound. However, yes, Steve is correct. It was a long drive. It was a long drive for him because he was the one doing the driving. Um, However, unfortunately, I was not able, there were so many people there, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that I always felt like I was going to be in someone's way or I was going to bump into somebody while I was trying to film or something like that. So perhaps when I go to Scarefest in October, me and Steve will be going for one day. I believe, what is it, October 19th or whatever that Saturday is in late October. Um, I guess I better be looking, huh? Because we don't want to be wrong on the date. I know Steve would not want me to be wrong on the date. Maybe I'll get to more time or more space to film. I just don't know. But in any event, I'll be filming before and after Scarefest as well. But I did get some footage of me and Steve on our way to Horror Hound and leaving Horror Hound. Those of you that are my friends on Facebook, you more than likely got to see my pictures. The coup de grace was the picture of me and Candace with Robert England. It was a fantastic experience. I'll just tell you that. It was short and sweet, but I did get to give Mr. England his gift, his gift bag that I put together for him, and he actually started to go through it. But it is my thinking that they must have taken him aside before this convention got started and said, due to things happening in the past, we're going to have to get these people through these photo ops faster. because there's a lot of people that want to get photo ops with you. So he was very gracious. He seemed surprised when I gave him the gift. I said, Mr. England, I have a gift for you. And I gave him the gift bag. And like I said, he started to go through it and he said, oh, well, it's in boxes. Like the tea is obviously in a box. He said, I will go through that later. So I'm hoping that he got a chance to see his t-shirt and his candle and his tea and all of that. And if I hear anything or see anything on his Facebook or Twitter or X, I almost refuse to call it X. I still want to call it Twitter account. I will be sure to let you guys and gals know. Yes, Scarefest is closer, Phil. You are correct on that. I kind of did X-ray. You said Daner had a major case of the vapors and then photo op pics with Robert England. It was a nice, very nice experience. Robert England is a gentleman. He's a class act. I know prices are a lot more expensive for autographs and photo ops nowadays. But guys and gals, if you've never gotten a chance to meet this man, even for a minute or so, and you get a chance, please take that chance, because even though my dear husband paid for this photo op, even if I had paid for it myself, it would have been worth every penny. And it certainly was, to me, worth every penny that was paid. Just that experience of getting to meet a man that I have admired over the years, for many, many years. Not only as Freddy Krueger, but doing the Everybody Wants England retrospective, I have seen just what a wide range, how very versatile, and what a fantastic actor in and out of makeup that Robert England is. So yeah, hats off to you, Mr. England. If you see this and you see the Everybody Wants England, I want you to know that I think very, very highly of you. So much so, in fact, that's why I did one of the retrospectives. And I'm still in the middle of the retrospective. I plan to continue it tomorrow night. So that video will be coming up. Not me meeting Robert England, because they wouldn't let you video or take pictures in the photo op booth, but of me and Steve, talking about, what we were planning on doing before, and how the event was when we talk about it afterwards. Got some things coming up this week. Hopefully I will be able to do them all and not feel wiped out. I didn't feel too good over the weekend after I got back. I guess I just wasn't used to going to a convention, or hadn't been to a convention since March. And that was Horror Hound weekend as well. So just wanted to remind you guys and gals, though, that next March, me and Candace are planning on selling our wares at Horror Hound weekend. So if you happen to be in that neck of the woods, if you want to come up to our table, we will be under the collective name of Lethal Ladies Incorporated. And we're going to be selling a ton of stuff at that show. Yeah, that's right, X-Ray. Our fans have a lot of germs. But I hope that I did not spread any germs to Mr. England or Paul Clemens or Peter Cowper, who I also met. Thank you, X-Ray. I appreciate that. But for those of you that won't see me at a convention, if you are interested in checking out what I've got for sale right now, t-shirts and mouse pads, and hopefully I'll have tumblers up there and hats and all kinds of things. Teas, I've got teas up there and candles on the site, and the aforementioned that I've mentioned over and over, Booga Booga Bears, that you can get a t-shirt with your favorite horror design on that. Or maybe you don't want a horror design. Maybe you want your kids or your grandkids or significant other or whatever on on the shirt on the Booga Booga Bear. Um, hey, TJ, you say, did you see him at his table? I know they don't let people linger at a photo op. Unfortunately, TJ, I did not get to see him at his table. The autograph tickets were only available to VIPs and platinum pass holders at this past Horror Hound weekend. Um, I understood why they did it, but it was still disappointing that I did not get a chance. I couldn't pay $200 a ticket for VIP, nor could I pay $1,200 a ticket for the platinum. So I was left out of the loop on that, but it was still a magical experience getting to meet Mr. England in the photo op booth for the 30 seconds or so that I got to talk to him. I was pleased that they allowed me to give him his gift, and he graciously accepted it, and that made me feel good. And then he was very nice to both me and Candace. It was quick, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, but it was still magical. It's something that I will remember for the rest of my life, and people can laugh at me if they want to, but I'll be totally honest. Robert England is somebody that I've been wanting to meet for a long time. And even if I had to meet him for a very short period of time, it was worth it to me. Hey, Batman. I don't think I've ever called him Woogie Boogie Bear, X-Ray. um, Phil, you say, where is that Horror Hound at? I assume it's going to be at Cincinnati again, Phil, but I could be wrong. I'll have to, take a look closer to time, but I believe that it is going to be in Cincinnati again. But, so I'm almost 15 minutes into this, so I guess we should get to the movies at hand, which, like I said, is going to be Amazon Women on the Moon from 1987 and Coming to America from 1988, which, by the way, if you want to watch Coming to America and you don't mind there being commercials in there, Pluto currently has Coming to America on. Steve had to get me a copy of Amazon Women on the Moon, but some of you may own that one. So let's go ahead and get started with these movies. Amazon Women on the Moon. I had never seen this film. It's not. It has a bunch of different segments, and it's not really a anthology film. The way it's set up is that you think you're going to be watching this movie called Amazon Women on the Moon, which is like a 1950s, 1960s style madcap sci-fi movie, right? It almost reminded me of an old Star Trek episode or something like that, where they land on another planet and it's inhabited by women. And I think that happened on Star Trek before. But Batman, you say, after nearly 4 long years, I finally got a PS5, but it was a brick, but I returned it and bought another one. Oh, well, I hope the new one works well, Batman. Steve's got a PS5, and as far as I know, he likes his very much so. So you think you're going to be watching this Amazon Women on the Moon, but what you really end up watching is a bunch of segments. Some of them appear to be commercials. Some of them appear to be these zany television shows and ads for, does anybody remember when you could buy like records and cassettes and I think even 8 tracks at one time? Through the mail, you would see these ads on television. They had some of these fake ads that were very entertaining. The whole thing was entertaining. But if you're thinking that you're going to be watching a movie called Amazon Women on the Moon, you're not really. And John Landis did not direct all of this. He directed several of the segments within this. But Joe Dante also directed some of them, and some other people, other directors directed some of the other segments. But I really enjoyed this because it was not something that you had to sit and watch and really super pay attention, for one thing, because nowadays with me working full time from home, and sometimes I work overtime a little bit, and I have to tend to the dogs, and I have to take care of Steve when he's here and stuff like that, and get his meals ready. Sometimes I don't. It's really not good for me to try to watch a movie that is really complicated. Which Amazon Women on the Moon was not complicated. It was made up. It was like watching a bunch of skits. It was like watching a bunch of Saturday Night Live skits, and I really really enjoyed it. I found it laugh out loud funny. There was really nothing serious. So let's say you had a bad day or you were depressed over something, and you put something like this on. I think you would brighten up in no time watching this, because there's just a wide variety of comedic sketches or skits or whatever you want to call it. And I think that John Landis and Joe Dante and all the other directors of the segments did an excellent job. These little skits seem to work seamlessly with each other. Um, he may have been Phil. I saw Mark McClure in some of the skits. There was actually one skit where Jackie Vernon was in it, Rip Torn was in it, or Rip Taylor, I mean, and a bunch of other comedy guys were in there. Bill Maher may have been in there. I just right now can't place him, Phil. Um, but again, if you are not wanting to watch something that is really a straight ahead film, a serious film, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer was in one of the segments. Let's see, who else was in? Griffin Dunn was in that same segment with Michelle Pfeiffer. Um, but yeah, just a whole lot of variety to this. You could never get bored with it. Now, there may be some people that don't like stuff like this. They would rather watch one cohesive film about one thing. And if that's what you like to watch most of the time, um, then this is probably not going to be for you. But I really enjoyed it. It gave me a chance to kind of unwind a little bit after work and just enjoy a film for the pure audacity and the pure zaniness of it. And I mean, it made cohesive sense. It was just really a fun ride for me, is what it was. Um, and some people might say, "Well, Dana, that's not really a movie." Yeah, I mean, it was only an hour and 24 minutes, but it was it was still enjoyable to me as just a short little slice of humor wrapped up in all these little skits. And the actual Amazon Women on the Moon was funny too. Like I said, it was a lot like a Star Trek episode. And like I said, I believe there was an old Star Trek episode where they landed on a planet that was inhabited by women. And this is what this reminded me of. And, it reminds you of that 1950s, 1960s speak, gee willikers and all that kind of stuff. So there were also some crazy commercials in there as well. But very, very enjoyable. didn't take a lot of brain power to enjoy it, which is always a plus for me. Hey Tom, you say so many actors started in horror films. A lot of actors did start in horror films. You are correct on that. Um, so I am going to give. I'm not going to give this one 5, but I am definitely. I think 4 deadites out of 5 suits Amazon Women on the Moon. Would I recommend it? Heck yeah, I'd recommend it to you, guys, to watch if you've never seen it before. It would be good for at least one watch. I could see myself going back at a later date and watching it again as well. So that's Amazon Women on the Moon. Um, so the next one and the final one that I wanted to talk about tonight is Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, as well as some other actors and actresses. Coming to America, I had not seen for a while. So I really had to go back and refresh myself on Coming to America. And Coming to America is, in my eyes, a standard comedy movie, but it definitely has John Landis's touch to it as well. Um, so we have Eddie Murphy. Like I said, we have Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones. God rest his soul. He recently passed away. James Earl Jones is great in this. Cuba Gooding Jr. Even old Jake Steinfeld, if anybody remembers Jake Steinfeld from Body by Jake, and also the immortal Home Sweet Home. Um, and of course, like I said, this is directed by Mr. John Landis. Eddie Murphy was a writer on this one. So we have the story of Prince Akeem, Eddie Murphy's character, um, who kind of wants to break out of the mold. He's tired of, you know, living in the luxury and being told, who he should marry. He wants to pick his own woman. He's tired of being waited on hand and foot. And some of you may be thinking, oh, good gosh, that's crazy talk right there. Um, not wanting to be waited on hand and foot. But there's one scene where Prince Akeem, uh, Eddie Murphy, he tells his father, played by James Earl Jones, he says, I've never even tied my shoelaces. And his father looks at him and he says, I tied my shoelaces once. It's overrated. And just the thought that somebody would think tying your own shoelaces is overrated. I could not imagine having anybody else tie my shoelaces. And I mean, he goes on to say how he would like to pick his own wife and all this. So he ends up going with his friend to America. And Arsenio Hall plays his friend. And they end up having to get jobs at McDonald's. And they thwart a burglary. And at the end, Prince Akeem gets to marry a woman of his choosing. But he had to leave Africa, where he was this decorated prince, and come to a foreign land for him to meet the woman of his dreams, the woman that he wanted to marry. Um, oh, that's cool. Hey, Menelect. That's cool, Phil, that you got to meet John Landis in Indy a long time ago. I've never gotten to meet John Landis. I would like to, though. X-Ray, you say Coming to America was the best movie ever shot in Queens. Um, X-Ray, you say, in my head canon, James Earl Jones in this was playing Kokumo from Exorcist 2, shared universe. Uh, yeah, Tom, unfortunately, I think that John Landis will have that dark cloud of the Twilight Zone over him, or following him, or whatever way that you want to look at it. But I hope that people, you know, not only through me doing this Landis Confidential, but maybe people will on their own discover the magic that was the filmography of John Landis. Because despite the unfortunate incident that happened during the making of Twilight Zone, the movie, during John Landis's segment, which was a terrible, terrible tragedy that took 3 lives. Um, that that tragedy is cemented in my mind, and is cemented in so many people's minds. Also cemented, I'm sure, in John Landis's mind forever. Um, but I think what some people forget, and I'm not saying, Tom, that you forgot, but what some people forget is that before and after Twilight Zone the movie, and even during Twilight Zone the movie, John Landis is an incredible director. In my opinion, he will always be an incredible director, and gave us a lot of good films, great films, in fact. So I don't want people to forget that. So that is one of my reasons for doing Landis Confidential, but I've got a lot of others because I just like sharing information about movies with people, even if they're not all horror movies. My channel's primarily about horror, but sometimes I like to go off the beaten path and talk about stuff that's not horror. X-Ray, you say my film teacher was an extra in the scene in the subway car towards the end, reading a newspaper, his only claim to fame. But that is really cool, X-Ray. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. X-Ray, you say Landis had a good run from the 70s to the late 80s. That's how it was for a lot of our favorite directors. I agree, X-Ray. I certainly agree with that. So it was fun going back and rewatching Coming to America. I was glad that I got to revisit it. And given enough time, I'm sure I'd like to revisit it again. As well as, now that I've watched Amazon Women on the Moon, I'd like to revisit it. And I am going to give Coming to America 5 Deadites out of 5. This one was slightly better than Amazon Women on the Moon. But again, they were two totally different types of movies, and I liked each one of them on their own merit. Okay. So I guess that's it from me. I will be planning on covering Oscar from 1991 and Innocent Blood from 1992 next Monday. And we've got a few more weeks of Landis Confidential. We got about 3 more weeks of Landis Confidential. And then I think I'm going to try to squeeze in Steven Spielberg in here. So I've got to come up with a title for the Steven Spielberg retrospective, which will be coming up after Landis Confidential completes. And that will be on Mondays. We're still going through Everybody Wants England. That will be tying up in a few weeks here. You can't wait till we get to the Stupids. Yeah, the Stupids is coming up, X-Ray. And believe it or not, I've never seen the Stupids. X-Ray, you say, Dana, what the hell? You spent 5 hours on the Robert Englund photo op for 2 seconds on each of the Landis films. Hey, now, X-Ray, I've been on here for like 31 minutes or so. Batman, you say you revisited Animal House this past week. Animal House is a good one. It definitely is a good one. You demand more, X Ray? Well, there'll be more next week. You'll hear me talking about Oscar and Innocent Blood, so you can look forward to that. But I'll stay on here a minute or two more. If anybody's got any questions they'd like to ask me, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Um, and if nobody has any questions, I'll probably tie everything up with a nice, neat little bow here in a bit and get off of here for the night and try to get some rest. This old girl was wore out after Horror Hound Weekend, and I only went one day. Actually, you say Innocent Blood was his last legit good movie. I consider it the true sequel to American Werewolf. It's interesting. I'm going to enjoy going back and rewatching Innocent Blood. I haven't seen Innocent Blood in a while. Um, Phil, you say Blues Brothers is your favorite. Blues Brothers is definitely up there for me. Tom, you want to know the first movie I went to see? Now, that would probably have been back in uh, there might have been some before, but I can't remember them, Tom. That would probably, though, one that I can remember would be back in my mom and dad's drive-in days. They used to take me, and when my brother was a tiny baby, they used to take us to the drive-in back when drive-ins were still big. And one of the first things I ever remember seeing at the drive-in was part of prom night. And I know I've talked about this before, and I think prom night stuck with me so much, those beginning scenes of them uh, causing poor Robin Hammond to fall out the window in the convent where they were playing a version of hide and go seek. Um, that stuck with me for years and years and years. And so much so, in fact, that I had to watch that movie in full when I got old enough to, like, go and with my aunt or my mom and dad and rent movies. I think I was with my aunt, Sandy, and she showed me, she said, "Yeah, there's that movie Prom Night." And I was so thrilled that I got to watch that movie in full. And Prom Night is still one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Not the favorite. Evil Dead holds that top spot. I think it always will. But Prom Night is up there for me. Yeah, back when drive-ins existed. I mean, there's still a few. There's still a few around X-Ray. Uh, X-Ray, you said not a fan of Prom Night, but I like how it was shot and the music. That's fair. And you say maybe you should do an episode on prom-oriented horror, prom exploitation, if you will. That's a good idea, X-Ray. I'm actually, if you don't mind me taking that idea, I'm gonna write that down because that could include, not only the prom night films, but Carrie and others. So, thank you for that idea. That is an excellent idea, X-Ray. So, I guess I'm going to tie everything up with a nice, neat little bow, or try to. But I want to thank all of you guys and gals that were in here and kept the chat um, active tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Um, Tell your friends and family members that you think might like the content that I'm putting out. I promise, guys and gals, I'm going to try to my best to put out more content and a wide variety of content coming up. Also, be sure to visit deaditesondeck.com, my horror shop for t-shirts and blended teas and candles and booga booga bears. And there will be more to come, including some holiday uh, themed horror shirt designs, original designs that I've come up with. And be sure to be on the lookout for all of that on deaditesondeck.com coming soon. Thank you, Blissful. I appreciate that. Great. You say great live, Dana. Yeah, that's right, X-Ray. Just an excuse for me to talk about Carrie again. Well, any excuse to talk about Carrie is a good excuse, right? Thank you, Phil. And with that being said, thank you, Batman. Batman says great live. And on that note, I'm off like a dirty shirt. But before I go, I want to remind everybody, as I always do, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday, folks. Let's kick Tuesday's ass tomorrow, but also make it special, right? So I'm out of here for now, but I'll see everybody next time.